Alright all, like the title says, today's video I'm going to be showing you how to upgrade your Ryzen AM4 CPU with a central processing unit. In today's video I'm using my personal rig. We're going to be using the ASUS Prime X470 Pro motherboard. We're going to be going from the Ryzen 7 2700 and we're going to be putting in the Ryzen 9 3950X. Now this process will work for any AM4 socket that you have, any AMD Ryzen processor that you have that you're upgrading to or from. It really don't matter. It's the same concept behind it. Some of the reasons you may want to upgrade your processor, maybe your processor is holding back your new graphics card, so you want to upgrade it to be able to get the max performance out of the graphics card. Maybe you want to get into streaming, or maybe you want to get into video creation. So you need a little bit better processor. Your process may be a little different than mine. Your side panels may come off your case differently. Maybe your cooling solution will come off your CPU a little different than mine does. So let me roll that footage and show you how to get this CPU changed out, and I'll be back with the conclusion to the video. Alright all, and to get started with upgrading your CPU in your system, we need to take the side panel off here, which is going to vary on your case. Mine got 2 captive thumb screws, and you just slide back the panel about a ½ inch to an inch. And it should lift up off, just like so. And just to make it easier for you guys to see what I'm doing, I'm going to remove my graphics card here. There you go. Now you may not have to do that. I'm doing it just for you guys to have a better view. This part will vary depending on your heat sink. I do have the 280 AIO on my system, which is going to make this pretty easy. I just have to loosen up this one screw here. And as it loosens up, give it a little bit of a twist, a little bit of a wiggle here. Oh, and the top plate should come off pretty easy. Oh, well, unplug the cables here. And the CPU actually stuck to the heat sink there. Which that happens, especially with AMD processors. Hey, give it a little twist and it comes off. Alright y'all, if your CPU don't come up with your heatsink, which it shouldn't, but it does at times, the way you do it, you take your little lever and you pull it over to the side. You lift it up, lift it all the way up. You can do this one-handed or two-handed. You grab down by the sides. You just lift your processor up and out. And that's the way you take it out if it don't stick to the heatsink. We'll lay that to the side. And unplug lay that to the side. That's one thing bad about AMD sockets. So you can tell it was still clipped down in. We'll go ahead and lift up that retention clip there. Of course, we're going to be reusing the heat sink, so I need to get that old thermal paste off there. Looks like it's pretty dry actually. Alright, since I used that up, and I'm going to be reusing the CPU in a different build, so I need to get that cleaned off. How I'm going to do that, and to clean off that CPU, I just got some regular alcohol here. That's 91 proof rubbing alcohol. I just got a coffee filter here out of the kitchen, and we're going to put some of that rubbing alcohol on that coffee filter here. Now why I use a coffee filter, I use it because there's no lint to them like the paper towel. And you got to be careful when doing this, especially if it's out of the socket. You don't want to bend none of them pins on the back of it. But you do need to get this old thermal paste off of here. Alright, we're going to take the new CPU, which is the 3950X. We're going to get out of the clamshell packaging. Just like when you first built your computer. You want to line up the little gold triangle on the corner of the CPU with the triangle on the motherboard. Line them up. Slide it right down in there, just like so. Put your lever back down, click it down in, give it a little wiggle. Alright, if you guys seen in my other videos on how to do this, I do use the MX4 from Amazon. There's my thermal paste. And actually this tube that I got, I normally use a piece of Scotch tape to do this, but they gave me a little spreader this time with my order. I think it's because I ordered so many of them. So we're going to be using that to spread it out instead of the Scotch tape. We're going to put a little daub right here in the middle. They say about pea-sized drop or a rice-sized drop or something like that. If you see my other videos, I like to spread mine out. Usually use Scotch tape. Some people just put their the cooling solution down on top of that and let it spread it out. Me, I like to spread mine out. So we're going to spread this out here. You don't need a whole lot of this. Just a nice little thin coat. Basically just enough to cover up the writing on the CPU. I mean, it kind of seems a shame to spend this much on a CPU just to cover it up. But you do need this to keep your temperatures under check. So we're going to get a nice little coat here across it all. There we go. I think that's good enough. And yes, you see a little bit of the CPU still underneath, but the writing's pretty well covered up. I think that'll be fine. Then you reinstall your heatsink, or in my case, I got the all-in-one here. Alright guys, maybe you can see this a little bit better now since I got it laying flat. I know it'll make it easier on me to install this. I'm going to put this bottom bracket down here on the bottom, just like so. We're going to get this top nut fed through the top of it here. Get it started down through there. Get your thumb nut started back on it. Alright, there we go. And then we're just going to tighten down this top nut. And it should bottom out at the right tightness. There we go. Seems to be nice and snug on there. Okay, you're going to run your CPU fan here. Run it back up here onto the CPU fan header that runs the pump. Or your CPU header, depending on what you have. And my ARGB light wire came unplugged, so we're going to run it back up here. Now we're going to reinstall a graphics card. And there you go. We got the CPU cable for the fan hooked up to the CPU header. Got the ARGB wire for the pump running out the back and reconnecting. And we're going to put the front side panel back on this. Just like so. Put the thumb screws back on. And that's pretty well how you swap out or upgrade your CPU in your gaming computer. Let me get reset up here and I will come up with the conclusion to the video, guys. Alright all, and that's the way you upgrade your Ryzen AM4 CPU or central processing unit. It is a pretty easy process, but it is a way to really boost the performance of your computer as well. But I think that's going to pretty well wrap it up for today's video. Make sure you go down and give me a like if you like this kind of content. If you don't, there's that dislike button. There's that comment section below. I'll go through them every weekend here on my live show, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Saturday mornings here in the U.S. If you really like this kind of content, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell where you're notified next time I put a video. I'll go live here on YouTube. And also, if you'd like to, I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. The links will be in the description below. I don't kill your inbox, but I do put up photos of the new hardware I got coming in that kind of give you an idea of what's coming up on the channel. And if something comes up with my live stream, I got to change the date or the time, or I got to cancel for some reason, that's where you also get that information. And with all that being said, you all have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video or live stream.